Thanks for joining us on Fox 10 Talks. Thanks for being here, Marc Martinez.
You're welcome.
You volunteered once again.
Yes, Steve Nielsen is, I believe he's on vacation.
I think so,
He's
yes.
out either way. So here I am. Happy to be with you, of course.
Thanks for being here, yeah.
Boy, we have so much to talk about today.
We do.
I feel like this news cycle, it's always, lately it's always been busy, but it's just from moment to moment.
Yeah.
Things are changing so quickly, especially with the situation in Iran and the Middle East.
Yes.
Of course, that's what everyone seems to be focused on, whether it's the actual engagement itself with what's going on with fighting there or the impacts we're feeling here with the oil prices. There's just a lot.
There's so much. The evacuations of people in the Middle East, getting them out of there. And it's been a lot with the conflict ongoing there in Iran. And so to start things off, joining us now via Zoom is Brian Maddocks. He's a retired Air Force major pilot. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
So first, let's just start off. There's been a lot of talk about the Shahed drones that Iran has. Can you tell us what those are and what that's about? You're kind of a drone expert.
So I'm in the drone business, let's put it that way. So yes, I know a little bit about it. So the Shahed drone is pervasive in the Middle East and even Ukraine. I mean, the Russians have shot, thousands of those in Ukraine. So we're very familiar with them. It's basically a one-way attack drone, kind of like a missile. It's a big drone with a warhead. It seeks off of coordinates. So if I know where the GPS coordinate of the target is, all I have to do is launch the drone and it'll go there. It's got a contact fuse. So just when it hits its target, it blows up. Pretty simple.
Wow. What kind of match are those drones for what we have in our arsenal in the U.S.?
Well, they're really not. It's super easy to shoot them down. The only issue is there's a lot of them. So whereas a Shahed drone costs maybe $20,000 or $30,000, we shoot Patriot missiles at it, and a Patriot missile is anywhere from, I'm sort of guessing, about $4 million. So every time you shoot a Shahed drone down with a Shahed drone down with a Patriot missile, you've got about a 100-to-1 cost ratio there. But it beats the alternative, which is the drone hitting something and destroying it.
Can you give us roughly the dimensions of a Shahed drone? How big are we talking about?
It's not that big. It's a lot of people think of drones as quadcopters, right? And it's much bigger than that. It's probably off the top of my head, about 10 feet long, maybe 10 feet long, about 4 feet wide. It's got a little bit of a what we call a delta wing, so it looks like a big triangle.
And just so we're clear, this drone, the Shahed drone, it is like the drone itself is what hits the target, right? It doesn't launch some sort of rocket from the drone. The drone itself is essentially the explosive.
Correct. We call them kamikaze drones, basically. So it's just you launch it. It's got a warhead. It's really simple, and it just hits whatever it's aimed at. Ideally,
when you were
in our case, it doesn't. Ideally,
right, Brian, when you were in the military, how long did you serve? By the way,
I served 20 years.
Wow. Okay. What did you fly when you were in?
I started off in special operations in C-130s. I graduated to the F-15E Strike Eagle. So if you and your audience are familiar with the airplanes, they got shot down by the Kuwaiti jet. Those are F-15E Strike Eagles. And I finished my career in the U-2 spy plane.
Speaking of the planes that were shot down, were you surprised that all of the pilots were able to survive that after being shot down?
Yeah, they ejected.
Yeah.
No, not surprised at all. I mean, that's what it's there for. That the seat works great. The way if I understand it correctly, there hasn't been a lot of information released on the shoot down itself, but just by looking at it, it's apparent that they were shot down with what's called a heat-seeking missile. So the missile hit them in the engine. So engine blows up, engine catches on fire, and you eject. So there's not a lot of, I guess the good part, if there is a good part, is you don't get a lot of shrapnel coming into the cockpit that would hurt the air crew with the missile explosion. The missile's just designed to knock the airplane out.
Did you ever have to utilize that?
The seat does what it does. I'm so sorry.
No worries. Sorry to cut you off. Did you ever have to
No.
utilize that eject button?
Thankfully, no, I did not. We were trained for it, but thankfully, I never had to eject from an airplane.
When we talk about Iran and the drones, what is their air power like as far as their military? I mean, I know I've heard at least it's not great. It's not comparable to anything that we, of course, have. But are drones primarily their main source of air power and trying to attack the other countries?
Drones and missiles, yes. I mean, they don't have
missiles.
this is where we talk about asymmetric warfare. They don't have the same technology that we do, but they've got a lot of really, for lack of a better word, cheap technology. So they can launch a lot of missiles. They can send a lot of drones. They can do a lot of damage. And the idea here is that we run them out of ordnance before we run out of ordnance, and hopefully that happens on the ground, right? So a lot of the targeting that you're hearing about, all the bombs being dropped, we either know where their drone bases are and their missile bases, or we figure it out pretty quickly. And the idea is to destroy them on the ground before they get off the ground.
You were talking about the F-15Es, the three of them
Yes.
that went down over Kuwait. It was an apparent friendly fire incident. There's still some stuff that hasn't come out on that yet, but that's what we
Right.
think at this point. How common is an incident like that, like a friendly fire incident, when you're flying into combat? Things, I'm sure, can get disorienting. Is that kind of what goes on?
It can. I mean, we in the U.S. haven't experienced a lot of that, right? I mean, when you look back at Iraq, Afghanistan, even Desert Storm, we had air superiority, so we had a pretty clear air picture. What's going on with Iran is that we don't have a clear air picture. Particularly in the first couple of days, we're launching stuff at them. They're launching things back. There's drones in the air. There's missiles in the air. You don't necessarily know what's what. So from let's put it this way: I can understand it from a ground system perspective. So if I'm an operator of what's called a surface-to-air missile battery, and I'm looking up in the sky and I see all these things in the sky, okay, there's a threat there, and I might make a mistake. I'm really going to be curious to understand how a trained fighter pilot of any nation misidentifies not one, not two, but three aircraft and pulls the trigger on that. That baffles me quite a bit. No offense to anybody, I wasn't there, but I'm going to be very interested to track how that all came about.
Well, Brian Maddocks, thank you, retired Air Force Major. We really appreciate you giving us your perspective and answering some of the questions a lot of us have had about what is going on over there and what the weapons that are being used right now are involving. So, Brian, thank you for that. We really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you all for having me. Have a great day.
Appreciate your service as well.
Yes,
thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We do know that Iran has picked a new supreme leader to replace Ali Khamenei, and it's his son, Mojtaba Khamenei. And we have a soundbite, I believe, about what his son is like. I've been hearing that he's even more hardline than his father.
That's what I've heard as well.
And would be pushing more for a nuclear weapon than even his father would. So it could be one of those situations where we've got even someone who's more of a hardliner.
Right,
now.
And then the conflict gets extended even longer, possibly.
Yeah, so I believe we have some sound to listen to about this.
The Trump administration entered this conflict through Operation Epic Fury in order to end a war, not begin a new war. And what I mean by that is the Islamic Republic of Iran has been at war with the United States since 1979, when it seized the U.S. embassy in Tehran and took 44 of our diplomats hostage. And ever since that time, it's been killing American citizens and attempting to harm them. And it's currently holding Americans hostage in Tehran as we speak. So this is a national security interest for the United States to try to deprive of the Iranian regime of the ability to project power.
Yeah, so again, this developing situation, we're keeping on top of it, but it was great to hear from Brian, and we'll find out more about exactly what's going on later on in the day.
We will see. We're going to
Yes.
switch over now to talking about water and the Colorado River allocations that has been in the news for years. We've been
Yes.
talking about it for years. And now we're kind of at a stalemate. So there's a lot going on with that too.
We're joined by Dr. Kathryn Sorensen. And tell us your title over at ASU.
I'm Director of Research at the Kyl Center for Water Policy.
Great to have you. We've been talking about this for a long time, but we're getting now to the point where by the end of this year, we're going to have to have a decision somehow.
Yeah, things look pretty tough on the Colorado River. We have some real challenges ahead of us. As you noted, the 7 states that share the Colorado River have been unable to come to an agreement about how we operate Lakes Powell and Meade. And those are the nation's largest reservoirs.
And the upper basin states, they do not seem to be as willing to negotiate with the lower basin states. Is that correct?
I think everyone is trying hard to come to an agreement. The problem is, frankly, that there just isn't enough water to go around. And, we're looking at so little water available in the Colorado River these days that, we're talking about potentially significant cuts and real pain to economies. And I think in that kind of condition, it is just very hard to negotiate an agreement.
Yeah, I lived in Las Vegas for 6 years, from 96 to 02. I remember going to Lake Mead a lot where the water was up at the top straw, And you see it now. It's down at the fourth one or third one. It is it's dire.
Yeah, it is dire. And unfortunately for us here in central Arizona, our priority to Colorado River water is lowest among the lower basin states of Arizona, California, and Nevada. And that kind of means that when there's not enough water to go around in the lower basin, we get cut first. So we are already in shortage conditions, and we can expect those shortage conditions to continue.
But I guess so kind of what happened for people watching, the states came together, they tried to agree, the deadline had passed, they didn't come to an agreement. And so now it moves to the feds, right? Now they have to decide.
Yeah, now it's incumbent on the Secretary of the Interior. He is actually the water master in the lower basin on the Colorado River. So yeah, he has to decide. I don't envy him that task.
Wow.
No.
Yeah.
We're going to go to a break in about 30 seconds, but we'd love to. We have so much more to talk to you about. We also want to talk about, we still have to talk more about this, the Colorado River water allocation, but we do want to talk too about the water prices and the rates for people here in the Valley, because some of them have just gone up exorbitantly over the past few years. So we want to talk about that too. So
All right, we'll be right back. Stay with us.
And welcome back. We are back with Dr. Kathryn Sorensen talking about the Colorado water allocation and where we stand with that.
Yeah.
What is there any idea what the Secretary of the Interior might be thinking? Has they kind of tipped his hand at all, or?
You know, it's tough to say. And I think one of the problems is that the Secretary of the Interior over the last several years has hoped that the states would come to an agreement and probably hasn't wanted to tip his hand, right? Doesn't want to show what he's thinking. But now's the time. Unfortunately, it looks as though the 7 states will not come to an agreement, and he'll have to make some really tough decisions on the river. I don't envy him that.
Is that a final decision? Can the states appeal?
It is a final decision. It's called a record of decision, but it is quite likely that someone will sue over the process, and we might end up in court over all of this anyway.
Wow.
Is there a chance that this could work out for Arizona now that it's in the hands of the feds?
Yeah, that absolutely. I mean, you know, obviously there's a huge economy here to protect, not to mention the Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing facility, which is really important to national security. You know, there are a lot of reasons why Arizona might come out ahead of this, but it's risky. And Arizona does have a junior priority to California. And so we can anticipate that no matter what happens, there will be significant cuts to our Colorado River water availability.
For people watching going, how does this affect me? Are we talking, if we get substantial cuts here in Arizona, are people going to see that firsthand at their homes? Is this going to be something where they can't water their lawns or something like that?
So there's not a threat to tap water availability, and that's really important to emphasize. We're not talking about taps running
that's
dry.
good. Okay.
We are talking, though, about the potential for the cost of that water to really increase, right? Cities are going to have to go out and make sure that they have bolstered their alternative water supply portfolio. And that is going to entail large expenses, not just for alternative water supplies themselves, but possibly also the infrastructure that's necessary to deliver those alternative water supplies. So I think people can definitely expect that costs will go up.
Well, and so again, we're waiting on that to the end of the year is the deadline for this. Let's segue now, since you kind of were just talking about it.
Yeah.
Prices, water rates.
Yeah.
Gilbert especially has been in the news, but other cities have been raising their rates too. I think the thing with Gilbert, and you live, you're out familiar with what's going on there, is the percentage of the increases.
Yeah.
It almost seems untenable.
It sounds like it's been put off, which is kind of similar to what's happening statewide, but it's been put off for a little bit, and now we kind of have to catch up.
That's exactly right. And those rate increases, they seem high in percentage terms, but when you're starting from a relatively low water rate, right, then any increase is going to look percentage-wise larger, right? But no, these rate increases are necessary. Here's one of the things that people don't get about water utilities. They are very, very capital intensive. All the money is in the infrastructure, the pipes, the pumps, the reservoirs, the wells. And those things have become far more expensive over time, not to mention the skilled labor necessary to run these utilities. You add the cost of chemicals and IT and all these things. Water is just more expensive. And we have a continuing need to invest in aging infrastructure.
Yeah.
Right?
As we're exploding in population. Yeah.
All those things. And we like to think of the Phoenix area as kind of a young region. But, honestly, we're not that young anymore. And a lot of these pipes are beyond their useful life.
I was up at the Dreamy Draw the other day going for a hike, and they're doing a massive water line installation there. I mean, these things are huge, and they're having to dig up the ground through neighborhoods. And it looks chaotic. It's a lot of work, but I can see what you're saying about the price of having to do something like that, because that system isn't forever. It's got to be replaced at some point.
It has to be replaced. And I think at the end of the day, it's helpful to remember that although, water rate increases are never pleasant, but it's still such a good value for the product. What other product do you get 24/7 on tap at perfect water quality parameters at this cost? Look at your cell phone bill, look at your cable bill, look at your electric bill. I mean, yes, it's going up in price. It's still a good deal.
I think what might be going through people's minds, though, I mean, thank you for explaining all that to us. I think what is happening, though, is with people, when you have some of the utilities like, the electric companies that are raising rates at the same time as the water company. And then I think people just go like, when is it going to stop? You know, because it does add up, you know.
It
and I think maybe
does.
that's what it is. It's the mentality of like, you have no choice.
Yes,
you know, you don't have a choice.
Water is necessary to life. You're right. And these, you know, even when they're publicly owned utilities, they're monopolies, right? They're governed by the city council, but you don't really have a choice for your provider. So no, all of that is very understandable. You know, I wish it weren't the case that our infrastructure is aging or that we're having, you know, to develop alternative water supplies. But look, if we're going to have reliable water supplies in the Valley of the Sun, we got to pay the piper. And that, you know, unfortunately, the piper's here.
Yeah. And now you have AI, and AI data centers require water. And so now that's something else that we're talking about right now, too.
I know. And data centers, you know, I know that they freak people out, right? But here's the thing. They don't. A lot of them don't use the water you think they do. A lot of them are air cooled or have other technologies or finding ways to reuse the water. But fundamentally, you know, we need to find ways to support a pivot to a high tech economy. That's the way of the future. And fortunately, we can do that. Water efficiencies continue to increase. And what that means is that other, you know, families, homes, businesses use more water or use less water over time. They find ways to become more efficient. Think about your appliances, right? They're so much more efficient than they used to be. Your toilets use less water, your showers, all these things. So we can actually grow in population. We can bring in new industries and not necessarily use more water. So we just need to keep pushing on those efficiencies, on conservation, and we can accommodate these types of uses.
That's a great point.
I'm glad to hear you say that because I started feeling guilty when I was using ChatGPT for frivolous things. I was like,
you don't need to.
How much water am I using right now by asking this question?
ChatGPT is everything right now. We can't have that go away.
Dr. Sorensen, thank you so much for joining us, and we would love to have you back as we continue to talk about, especially the Colorado River water allocation.
Yeah,
so,
thank you.
Thank
Great
you.
to have you here.
Thank you.
And we have another pivot.
We do. Pivot once again. We're the king and queen of pivots.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
We're going to be talking about air traffic, or actually the lines at the airports.
TSA.
More importantly. And we've got Sarah Alegre, who is live for us.
Sorry, Dr. Sorensen.
It's a live process, no problem.
Yeah, it's a live show.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to talk to Sarah Alegre, and she is live in Houston. Sarah?
Sorry, Sarah, we've got so much to cover today. We kind of lost track of where you are. Hold on one second, Sarah. Just 1 second.
Where are we going here? Anyway, lines are a big deal right now. TSA, in some spots, they're not looking so good. Here, actually, we've gotten pretty lucky here in Phoenix. Our lines are not so bad.
Right. I was checking, or right before we went on, Terminal 3 was about, I think, 12 minutes. Terminal 4 was 9 minutes. So we're
like that. Yeah,
we're doing okay here. Are we able to?
All right, Sarah, can you hear us?
Hi. Yes, I can.
Hello. Okay, great. So tell us, Sarah Alegre tonight, tell us where you are and what it's looking like there.
Hey. Hey there. Yeah, so I'm at Hobby Airport in Houston. This place has had a rough go, I will say, over the course of the past few days. Looking a lot better today, so happy to report that. But, you know, we're in this time of uncertainty, essentially, and we went through this not too long ago. Last fall, during that full-fledged government shutdown, we saw a lot of delays during that time, and that was right before the Thanksgiving travel season underway, and unfortunately, the timing is bad once again here, dealing with spring break. Like I said, doing a little bit better today. It is a Tuesday. We don't have as many people traveling like what we experienced over the weekend. A lot of people trying to get out of town here in Houston. Not exactly a spring break destination. I know they're trying to get to places like Florida, where there's some more sunshine and some beach activity, but even the West Coast as well. But today, it is flowing a little bit better here. We know just TSA employees, they're caught in the crossfire right now of this partial government shutdown with the DHS shutdown, and travelers just telling me, hey, I don't want to take any chances right now.
I thought to myself, oh my gosh, like I don't think I've ever experienced that much like chaos in an airport. So it definitely did bring panic to me. So I was like, okay, we need to go. So you just gotta either decide to show up early and make sure you're on your flight, or have the risk of missing it if you don't get here early enough.
Hobby Airport today, a very different scene from this weekend. On Sunday, security lines stretched into the passenger pickup area. Some travelers waited nearly 4 hours to get through security. By Monday, wait times were down a little bit, but still reported to be around 2 hours. TSA agents, they have to work during this time, even though the DHS has been without funding since mid-February. Democrats and Republicans locked in a political standoff over immigration policy. TSA without a paycheck because of it all. Many travelers, they're very frustrated, rather, and say they're more concerned, though, for those working without pay.
The fact that they aren't being paid, so for them to not come to work might be pretty acceptable or reasonable. So more concern for those people than for my own time.
So TSA pre-check lines, those are open, clear, you're good to go in that regard too. So having that is going to help you a bit. And in kind of international travel though, global entry processing, that is down during the government shutdown. More than anything, it's just being mindful. Hey, knowing where the areas are bad. Houston, New Orleans was rough this week. Atlanta was also bad. Charlotte, Douglas Airport too. Show up to those a little bit earlier if you can. Checking your airline app, that's going to be helpful too, but it just during this time of uncertainty, better be safe than sorry.
Yeah, it's interesting to me too how it's so different across the board. Like for example, here in Phoenix, the wait times are pretty much fine.
Yeah,
they
10
have
minutes,
been
12 minutes.
Yeah, but then you go to Houston, it's a different story. So it's just across the board, it's all different.
Yeah, absolutely. And that could be subject to change too, you guys. We have to think and we have to take that into consideration, depending how long this government shutdown will last. Right now, if it does continue, we're being told by government officials that we could expect this to spread at other airports as well.
Wow. Oh, boy. Well, like you mentioned, though, check your airline. Check. A lot of airports have the wait times listed for security. Check all that and maybe rent a car. Sarah Alegre reporting for us.
Thank you, Sarah.
From Houston
Safe
Hobby
travels.
Airport.
Thank you. And then last night, Mark, I don't know if you saw this, the JetBlue, were you still
saw
on the air
that.
at this point?
No,
when this
I got home. JetBlue basically asked the FAA to ground stop themselves.
All flights
Yeah,
grounded.
I still don't know what that was
for
about.
an IT outage.
Wow, that
was
weird.
There's no reports saying that this was some kind of like cyber attack or anything like that. But my first thought was, oh no, is this some kind of cyber thing?